Home of 230,000 residents who are students, artists, educators, scientists, elected officials, parents, and so much more. Richmond is the vibrant epicenter of culture, commerce, business, and education. The city of Richmond is transforming daily, and there's more progress on the horizon. Virginia may be for lovers, but Richmond is at the heart of it all. Thank you for joining us tonight. At this time, please welcome to the stage Dr. Denise Walters, Chair of the Board of Trustees at the Science Museum of Virginia, to bring greetings on behalf of the museum.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Denise Walters. In addition to serving as the Stability Lead at Halion and Tribal Council Chair for the Nottoway Indian Tribe of Virginia, I am also Chair of the Board of Trustees here at the Science Museum of Virginia. On behalf of the Science Museum, I am pleased to welcome you to the 2024 State of the City Address. The Science Museum is a state agency of the Commonwealth that encourages Virginians to enrich their lives through science, using hands-on experiential exhibits and dynamic programming. We also have a satellite location in Danville and are in the midst of a project to build another location in Northern Virginia. But the Science Museum is headquartered here, right here in Richmond, Virginia. This beautiful building has served as an iconic figure along Broad Street for over 100 years. First as a passenger rail station, and now as the home for informal STEM learning in Virginia, this building represents the importance of connections. In particular, connection to community. That's because true connection is the best way to ensure partnerships are one of the primary ways genuine connections. Partnerships not only provide mutual benefits today, but build a strong foundation for future growth within our community. The City of Richmond has been one of the Science Museum's key partners for decades. From working with Richmond Public Schools to support field trips that spark the curiosity for our children, to developing a program with Richmond Public Libraries so that families can visit the Science Museum for free. Our partnerships have focused on increasing community access to vital educational resources. But we don't just partner on activity that takes place within these walls. The Science Museum and the City of Richmond are committed to increasing our city's green infrastructure. As we look to the green, more than half of our 37-acre campus, we're closely working with the City of Richmond to determine the highest and best use of the current and future green space so that we can provide places for our community to gather, learn, and play. Like so many of you, my past, present, and future are rooted right here in Richmond. As a member of the first graduating class of Richmond Community High School and participant in out-of-school opportunities like the Math Science Center and tennis and art lessons through Richmond Parks and Recreation, I was given a strong foundation. A foundation that contributed to serving as the board chair for a statewide institution that warmly calls Richmond its home. What excites me most about our future opportunities? What foundation will we build for the next generation? Or, in my native approach, the next 7 generations? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Walters, for the warm welcome to this most beautiful reminder of learning, partnership, and the opportunity to experience dreams in motion. At this time, please stand for the invocation led by Reverend Dr. Lisette Cross.
May you find a prayer posture that suits your tradition. To the God of many names, who gathers us here through a common connection in faith, hope, and service. To the spirit of generations gone on before us, leaving a heritage of pursuing freedom in a city with enormous potential and a bright future. We convene as a collection of people of goodwill and moral courage, gathered from every part of the city, embracing the beautiful tapestry of our intersecting identities of race, age, class, gender identity, sexual orientation, and faith tradition. All of us committed in ways big and small to doing the purposeful work of shaping our beloved city, Richmond, Virginia. Let us find bonds of connection in the celebration of the progress we have made in education, public safety, and economic development. With tender hearts, help us to see the humanity in every person we encounter, allowing us to disagree without being disagreeable, to find alignment without estrangement, and to dissent without being divisive. Help us, O wise one, to always be kind, to seek out the greatest good for the largest number of people, to match our energy with innovation, our passion with plans, and our aspirations with actions. May we seek a balance of knowledge, faith, and conduct that can lead all towards liberation, ending misery, and bringing harmony amongst people of different backgrounds, opposing perspectives, and invigorating ideas. In all of this work, Divine Keeper, help us to offer apologies as quickly as we give argument, to be quick to listen, slow to defend, and to remain open to finding spaces of congruence and harmony and understanding. All in all, Creator, let us remember that we are bound together as a citizenry by mutual support and interdependence so that we may live out the African proverb, many hands make the load light, and continuing the efforts to keep Richmond as the #1 place to live in Virginia. In the name of all that is good and in Jesus' name, amen, ashe, may it be so.
Please remain standing for the presentation of colors by the Richmond Police Department, the national anthem by Ms. Cora Armstrong, and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by our We Matter students.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for what we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the stage the mayor's better half, his beautiful wife, Miss Brandy Stoney, to introduce Mayor Levar Stoney. Brandy, the stage is yours.
Hello and good evening, beautiful city of Richmond, family and friends. It is my great pleasure and privilege to welcome you all tonight to the State of the City, and an extreme honor to introduce you all to the man of the hour. Tonight, we will learn a bit more about the recent journey of the city. We'll talk about all things, both challenging and great. But to look back and analyze, we have to also take a moment to step into the past and appreciate the Richmond that was. These last 4 years, and definitely over the last 7 years, we have seen the evolution of a city, of a community that once was stagnant be uplifted to a place with a strong foundation and thriving conditions. My family, born and raised in Churchill, spanning at least 4 generations back, my dad, great aunts, grandparents, they tell you the Richmond of today is something only imagined in their wildest dreams. My mom, here tonight with us, a transplant from upstate New York, here since her early 20s, which she doesn't look a day over that now, would tell you this is now the city she's always wanted Richmond to be after a career of working at City Hall for 30-some years and seeing all the ins and outs, the goods, the bads, the inefficiencies, and the strides forward. But me, as a little girl that used to ride the bus with my beloved great Aunt Myrtle down to the state capitol where we'd feed the squirrels peanuts, and I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure there's probably a sign that says not to do that, but can anyone say core memory? For me, this is the city I'm proud of. This is the city I couldn't wait to come home to after traveling to Hong Kong or London for work. This is the city I told friends they just had to come visit as I ventured back and forth across the US. This is the city I photographed, whose story I shared during the summer of 2020 with pictures in black and white only so that the pain talked and each moment was felt. The story of a city whose tale will forever live on because the next chapter is constantly being written and told by all of the people who are Richmond. The story of a city where we are all co-authors. Now, one of the best parts about this life is that if you're brave enough, you can tell the story as you go. And that's why we're here tonight, to talk about the great accomplishments that the city has achieved, all of the work that each department drives every day, and plans for the next great chapter. But before we go through this part of the story, the man who has had the privilege of being both a contributing author and managing editor over the last 7 years, that's the guy I'm really here to talk about tonight. Now, I don't solely want to reintroduce you all to him as mayor of this fine city or chief executive officer of City Hall. Anyone could come up here and do that bit. I want you to get to know the person that I see as soon as he walks in our front door at night, the man that will forever be my best friend, and the one that I instantly knew was my soulmate, the guy that makes me the luckiest person in the world to call him my life partner. Now, I'm going to start with something shocking, and then we'll get to business. This guy is really funny, y'all. Like, really funny. It was surprising to me as well. It's fine, but this guy has me crying laughing at least a couple times a week. Not only does he watch cat videos with me for hours on end, but he even finds new ones that he knows will get me belly laughing for at least a good 10 minutes. No, that's a good guy. This may also be a bit surprising on one level and not surprising in another way. One of the initial things that attracted me to Levar was the way in which he brought work home with him. It was never a, hi, how's your day, skim over the information and let's move on, but rather a, I feel safe with you, let's debrief and maybe come up with some ideas. He let me in as a partner to his life from the very beginning and was always happy to hear an outsider's opinion. Now, if you know me, I am definitely opinionated, and our opinions don't necessarily always start at the same place because of either lived experiences, work dynamics, factors I may not be privy to, or whatever additional condition. But what happens is that he, and both of us, are always willing to hear out the other and come to some sort of middle ground idea that ends up being stronger than either original. I say this because if you've ever interacted with him and you've had differing opinions, they do actually make it back to the table because he believes in the power of varying perspectives. The other part of this, the bringing work home, then evolved as we were able to experience community events together, or even as I understood more about how much the people impact him every day. What I learned is that he has a remarkable memory. He can pretty much recall anyone's name, or at least where they've met, but more impressively, he remembers the stories. And those stories become part of our conversations throughout the rest of the night, and sometimes come up again even weeks later after he's followed up with the person and their situation, or when we're talking about different things in life. So if you've ever met him, just know that your place in his life didn't end after that moment. He is constantly thinking about how he can fix a situation or help someone. As we write our own chapters, we can never forget that we are also playing in someone else's story. That one touch, one, hey, I remember you, one shared laugh, hug, or cry may forever be ingrained in someone's life that they too carry at home with them then. And that brings me to the last characteristic. Know that he is as human as the person sitting directly next to you. Each interaction, each tweet, each article or interview, each opportunity to throw a football with a kid at a Salvation Army event, each dance or picture with a city resident at the Holly Ball, each protest, each funeral, each loss, each spring bloom at Maymont, each river rock, each award for the city, each development project, each accomplishment. It is all a part of each of his chapters as well, to be written and read with the same emotion as it was happening, and a learning gained just as with reading any book. For as a leader, the most valuable currency is not how much you know, it's how well you learn. I often catch him looking out the window, staring down the streets of the city, and ask what he's thinking. Every single time, his reply is the same. It's about the will to better the city, better the lives of all of the people who live here. In his brain, his heart, they never stop wanting to do right by the people that have given him the chance to lead. Maybe it's the little kid sitting in his social studies class, learning about JFK and vowing to a life of public service. Maybe it's the teenager who had teachers help him believe in himself and promising to give back to others in life. It could be the guy whose dad was both a janitor and a former felon, teaching about how important and valuable it is to have certain rights and forgiveness, pushing him into a life of policy and change. Whichever chapter of the story, they've all led to this moment where he will give his final State of the City speech here at the Science Museum as a twice elected and the youngest elected mayor of this great city of Richmond, Virginia. If I have learned anything over the last few years in this walk beside my husband, it's that life can be tough, but it's all in how you read the play and readjust on the field, because today's game is tomorrow's news. And now, The time has finally come to bring out and introduce to you all my super funny husband, my YouTube line dancing partner, and our future baby girl's dad and soon-to-be best friend as well, Mayor of the great city, Levar Stoney.
Kane is in the building.
Please have a seat, everyone. Now, folks, I've been accused a few times that I wear my heart on my sleeves. When I look out at my wife, 8 months pregnant, with our little girl, our first child, I'm wearing my heart on both sleeves tonight, and I wouldn't be the mayor I am without Brandy's love and support. And I wouldn't be the man I am without Brandy's love and support. So tonight, my first round of applause is to my wife, the woman I love, my life partner, our First Lady, Brandy Stoney. Folks, I want to begin by thanking those who came here tonight, but I got to say before I begin there that, babe, if tonight is the night and you give me that signal that we have to go, I'm sure everybody in this room will be fine if we left early. So you just let me know. Let us also give a big thanks to Dr. Denise Walters for that warm welcome to the Science Museum of Virginia, to Reverend Lisette Cross for that inspiring invocation, to the Richmond Police Department and the Fire Department for the presentation of the colors. And a special thank you to our students from our very own We Matter RVA for the Pledge of Allegiance. And lastly, Ms. Cora Armstrong for her soulful rendition of the national anthem. Honorable members of the Richmond City Council, members of the Richmond School Board, Governor McAuliffe, distinguished community leaders, and the residents of the great city of Richmond, good evening. My fellow Richmonders and friends, it is an honor to be standing here with you one final time tonight after serving as your mayor for the past 7 years. Quite frankly, some days I still can't believe that the little boy who grew up with holes in his socks and couldn't afford to go on field trips made it right here. That a boy who was the first in his family to graduate high school and then go to college will be elected the youngest mayor in Richmond's history. You know, what my family lacked in money, they made up for with love and support, instilling in me a sense of pride and self-worth. What my family lacked in a formal education, they made up for in work ethic, hustle, and grit. I'm standing here today because my family did everything they could to make sure I had a fair shot. But when you grow up poor, there are some who want to write you off, never give you a chance, and that makes you an underdog. I saw the city of Richmond that same way. We were a city that had been overlooked, discounted, a city whose story had allegedly already been written, living in the history books and museums and on the plaques of bronze statues. To the nation, our city was known for its complicated role in America's history. To its residents, our city was known for its complicated problems of today. Rundown schools, broken roads, and basic government services breaking down. As much as anything else, so many had lost hope, had lost the ability to dream. Well, we refused to accept that. We refused to settle for the way things had been. So we rolled up our sleeves and we got to work. We set out to write a new story for the city of Richmond. So tonight, I will speak to you about a city transformed, a city that is responsive and responsible, a city that people are moving to instead of leaving, a city currently ranked the #1 place to live in Virginia, a city that will be defined by its future, not its past, and a city that I will be proud to not only start my family in, but raise my family in. When I took office in 2017, I wanted to do far more than just leave Richmond better than we found it. I wanted to leave Richmond ready to seize the future. I wanted to leave Richmond in a place where young people want to move in and raise their families, a place where businesses want to relocate, a place where a young person can dream and have their dreams come true. I wanted to leave Richmond the best place in Virginia to live. Together, we've done just that. Just look at all we've accomplished since 2017. Our poverty rate is down 22%. Violent crime is down 22%. We increased funding for Richmond Public Schools by nearly 50%. We announced more than 6,500 new good-paying jobs. We reinforced our commitment to regional collaboration, and we went from filling potholes to paving entire roads. When I took office in 2017, almost 70% of Richmond's roads were rated in poor condition, 70%. And let me tell you, I heard about this from residents every time I was in the community. So we rolled up our sleeves and got to work. Now, I'm proud to say that 70% of our roads are in good condition. And we invested over $91 million in our streets, alleys, and sidewalks. Since 2017, we've paved 1,200 lane miles, including communities like Gilpin and Davy Gardens, which hadn't been done in decades. People love the roads to be paved, y'all. We maintained and repaired almost 232 blocks worth of sidewalks. We added 50 miles of bike lanes and 437 life-saving traffic calming measures. We added the Pulse and made riding the bus free for all. We buried old grudges with our neighboring counties and came together to strengthen our regional transportation network. Now, our solid waste team is effective and reliable. And unlike before, you don't have to wait weeks for the city to pick up your bulk and brush. We listened to our residents. We invested in our city. We provided critical services across every neighborhood. I'm sure that over half of you have met Bobby Vincent. So let's give a round of applause to our Director of Public Works and his incredible team for their hard work and responsiveness. But as Bobby knows, our work continues. That is why we have over 100 speed tables scheduled for installation by July of this year. And as the clock hits 11:59 p.m. on December 31st, I want 80% of our roads to be considered in good condition. Now, if the next administration follows in our footsteps, 100% of our roads could be in good condition in the next few years. This is what progress looks like, and it's critical that we keep it up. And it doesn't stop just with our roads. It's no secret that Richmonders come together when it comes to our kids. My dad, Marvin, believed that public education was the great equalizer, and he was right. That's why my family decided to move to Virginia. The schools were better here than they were in New York. My dad never graduated from high school. His hands were roughed, calloused, bruised, worn down from years of hard work. And he did not want that life for me. He may not have had a quality education himself, but he certainly understood the value of a quality education. And he was not alone. Time and time again, we heard from Richmond residents that they wanted more academic opportunities for their children. They wanted 21st century buildings and resources for their children. And they wanted more after-school programs. So we rolled up our sleeves and we got to work. Since 2017, we increased funding for RPS by almost 50%. In fact, the city provides almost 3 times more than the state requires. 3 times. We do this because the state hasn't stepped up, and we refuse to let our kids suffer because of it. We also increased average pay for teachers from $52,000 a year to $64,000. We built 3 new schools in Black and brown neighborhoods. And we allocated $200 million for new schools, including a new Richmond High School for the Arts, and $15 million to replace Fox Elementary School. But as every parent knows, the day doesn't end when the school bell rings. We heard from countless parents about the challenges of finding positive activities outside of normal school hours. So we listened. We expanded our school programming for every elementary and middle school student. And we created a strong partnership with Next Up RVA to expand community-based programs to help our kids grow academically and creatively. Here in Richmond, we are committed to universal access to preschool. We are committed to quality after-school programming. And we are committed to setting up our kids to succeed in this life. This is why we created the city's first ever children's fund to stabilize and expand child care in preschool. And through that effort, and with the support of the American Rescue Plan, we helped approximately 500 kids receive quality child care just this school year alone. We established the We Matter RVA program to support at-risk youth. And we were one of the first localities in Virginia to establish a guaranteed income pilot program, helping working but struggling parents pay for groceries, childcare, and more. And I'm particularly proud of our Pathways program, which we designed to help RPS graduates to and through community college. With an initial investment of almost $2.4 million, this program provides a traditional scholarship paired with a monthly cash allowance, mentorship and additional supports. Pathways gives more RPS graduates the opportunity to achieve post-secondary success, and is already underway in 5 of our high schools. One student involved said this, and it stood out to me. Attending the workshops boosted my confidence, and I'm thinking more about the next steps. Learning about real-world experiences inspired me to pursue my dreams. I'm excited about the opportunities ahead. Folks, that is exactly why we created this program. We wanted our students to be able to dream again. Folks, this is what I mean when I say the city of Richmond shows up for our kids. Parents, students, RPS, nonprofits, private and public sector, all working together to help our kids unlock their potential. You know, my dad used to dream that I would graduate high school and one day college. But never in his wildest dreams did he imagine I'd one day be the mayor of the city of Richmond. I'm living proof that public education is the great equalizer. And like all of you here tonight, I can't wait to see what the next generation of Richmonders will bring to our great city. Now, we can't talk about showing up for our kids without talking about public safety, which is why this administration has invested heavily towards making our communities safer. In 2017, Richmond public safety officials were the lowest paid in the region. Violent crime was higher, and our technology was out of date. But thanks to the hard work of the Richmond Police Department and our public safety partners, we brought overall violent crime down by 22% since 2017. We invested in more body cameras, license plate readers, speed cameras, and red light cameras to act as force multipliers for RPD and allow for greater accountability. We established the first ever comprehensive gun violence prevention and intervention framework, Richmond's first real-time crime center, and a formal Office of Emergency Management. We implemented intervention strategies through our Community Mediator program. And we increased pay for our police officers and firefighters. Folks, these investments are paying off. As Chief Edwards just recently reported, last year we saw a 7% reduction in violent crime, a 26% reduction in non-fatal shootings, an 11% reduction in traffic fatalities, and a 75% reduction in youth homicides. But we're not done yet. This and future administrations need to work until all of our residents feel safe. That is why I will continue to ask and ask again for Richmonders to lock up their guns. Let's face it, it is way too easy for our kids to get their hands on a firearm in this city. We also need common sense gun safety reforms at the state level. For example, the city of Richmond is asking the General Assembly to make the possession of semi-automatic Glock switches illegal under Virginia law. This bill has so far received unanimous bipartisan support in the General Assembly. These deadly tools have no place on our streets, and legislation like this will certainly help. I'm a firm believer that we must be tough on crime and tough on the root causes of crime. And that is the strategic approach you have seen from my administration over the past 7 years. So, I would be remiss if I did not thank Chief Edwards, Chief Carter, Director Willoughby, our entire Human Services team, VCU Health, Richmond City Health District, and our community ambassadors, the Commonwealth's Attorney, and all of our critical nonprofit partners for leaning into this whole government and whole community approach to public safety. When I first came into office, I heard from residents that wanted our parks to improve, and some who lacked access to parks altogether. Our outdoor spaces are so important, not just for our kids to play, but for our overall well-being. That is why I made it a priority to increase access to green space. And since 2017, we added 54 acres of parkland. And soon, with the addition of Mayo Island, that number will grow. We also allocated $78 million in American Rescue Plan funds for new parks and recreation projects, including our community center serving 100,000 residents across almost every single council district. We listened to our residents, and as a result, our 10-minute walk to a park score went from 74% to 80%. Now, more Richmonders have access to our parks than ever before, and that is something we all should be proud of. And let me be clear, as we go through 2024 and beyond, Richmonders will continue to see more progress, more community centers, more trails, and more improvements to our park system. This work would not have been possible without our community partners like Capital Trees, Virginia Community Voice, and Southside Relief, working alongside Chris Frelke and the entire Parks and Recreation team. They've brought our park system into the 21st century, and I think they deserve a round of applause. In 2017, I also committed to creating the RVA Green 2050 plan, our equitable climate action plan for a healthy and resilient city. And last year, with the full support of the Richmond City Council, we delivered on that plan, a critical step forward to becoming the greenest city on the East Coast. Look, practices like redlining created many of the urban heat islands we see today. But Richmond will not be complacent when it comes to environmental justice. We're fighting climate change and investing in clean energy. We reached our goal that by 2023, 50% of the city's municipal electricity is sourced from clean energy. And we're not going to stop there. We are building sustainability into our budgets and our action plans to benefit generations and generations to come. This is what it means to be resilient. This is what it means to invest in a greener future. And speaking of investing, when I came into office, Richmond had been written off as a place to invest. The city was only seeing modest economic growth, and something as simple as a building permit could take months for approval. So we rolled up our sleeves and got to work. And right now, I can confidently say that Richmond is better for business. We fixed the permit office. We created a strong vision through our award-winning master plan, Richmond 300, and establish our strategic plan for equitable economic development, commonly known as SPEED. A diversity of businesses and corporations are now choosing Richmond instead of writing us off. Among them, CoStar, VPM, Flow, CarMax, and Haleon, just to name a few. In fact, we were recently ranked the 8th city in the country that CEOs should consider for corporate headquarters. And folks, that's a big deal because corporate HQs bring good, high-paying jobs. Right now in Richmond, our city's economy is thriving, and I'm damn proud of it, and you should be too. And let us not forget the game-changing economic development projects out there that will continue to move forward this year. We have the City Center project, which is a collaborative regional effort to bring an innovation district anchored by a headquarter hotel to downtown Richmond. We have the 7,500-seat Riverfront Amphitheater, which will bring endless entertainment opportunities. We have the Chaco Heritage Campus, which will be a commemorative space that weaves the stories of Richmond's enslaved and free Africans. And last but not least, we have the Diamond District project. The Diamond District is a $2.4 billion project that will continue to reap benefits for years and years to come. And we remain committed to bringing this game-changing project to Richmond despite a challenging market. You want it, and we want it. So let me be clear. We will build a new stadium and keep the flying squirrels in the great city of Richmond. Folks, as the mayor of Richmond, it is my duty to try to bring new jobs and economic opportunity to Richmonders, to all Richmonders, which is why I supported projects in the past, such as Navy Hill and the casino, that unfortunately didn't work out. But folks, I had to try. And the lessons we learned from Navy Hill have made our process and plan for City Center that much stronger. We're also working to reverse course on development deals from before my time as mayor that didn't make sense for Richmond's future. And tonight, I'm proud to share that we are repurposing the former football training camp under the leadership of the Parks and Recreation Department. We are taking back that space for the public and using it to support our children and families that call Richmond home. Now, there are some folks who want to measure the success of the last 7 years by 2 or 3 projects. But our success is so much more than that. It's the strategic business attraction, expansion, and redevelopment efforts that have created more than $3.8 billion in announced capital investment and more than 6,500 announced jobs from economic development projects since 2017. It's the 690 commercial building permits issued in the last fiscal year alone. All of this progress means people are choosing Richmond. In fact, our population has increased by 11% between the years 2010 and 2020. It's this progress over the last decade which led to a 99% increase in our real estate tax base. And Richmond is now top 3 in the nation for concentration of Black-owned businesses. We are being strategic and intentional, and it's working. And all this growth happened despite a global pandemic. Yeah, how can we forget a global pandemic happened these last 7 years? Now, this important work could not have been done alone. I would like to thank my economic development team, led by Sharon Ebert and Leonard Sledge, the members of the Economic Development Authority and our Richmond City Council for making Richmond one of the top places to invest and do business. Thank you to every one of them. Fiscal responsibility is something that I had to figure out at a very, very young age. When I was just 8 years old, I began balancing the family checkbook and paying the bills. My grandmother Mary trusted me with a big responsibility, and I knew it. She didn't have more than a 6th grade education. And she had a lot on her plate raising me and my brother while my dad was out working. So I was always happy to help. You see, we had a special relationship. She was my best friend. And I was hers. Sometimes she would ball up a $5 bill when there was a little extra left and sneak it to me. It was almost like she was rewarding me, compensating me for my work. And without fail, I'd go out and buy some Little Debbie Swiss rolls, and I'll put them on top of the refrigerator and say, "No one touch my Swiss rolls," because it was special to me. It was my thing. It was my reward for that work. I never had the luxury of taking money for granted. Never. So when I was elected mayor and gained oversight of Richmond's finances, I took that responsibility very seriously. And just like in my house growing up, it starts with the fundamentals. And that's why under my tenure as mayor, we submit our annual financial report on time. We improved our budgeting best practices and created a surplus every year. We received excellent credit ratings, moving Richmond to just one notch below AAA, ultimately saving taxpayer dollars because we spend less when we borrow. Recently, Wall Street commended Richmond for its very strong economic growth, our attention to increasing reserves, and our sound and conservative financial policies and management. This city has come a long way in how we manage our finances. But I recognize there will always be areas where we need to do better, such as our tax collection policies. The priority should be to collect the taxes due, and it's our job to make it as easy as possible to do just that. Therefore, my administration, working with City Council and members of the General Assembly, will address some of the draconian tax policies that are in current state and local laws. We will make it free for residents and business owners to pay online, and we will complete the implementation of RVA Pay, making it easier for people to review their accounts. And we will refine our current policy practices, such as reducing late fees for tax payments and automating our financial systems to create a more efficient and customer-friendly environment for all. Getting by is hard enough, and filing your taxes shouldn't make it harder. When I was growing up, my grandmother always said that we were one check away from being on the streets. That is why I firmly believe that every Richmonder deserves to have a roof over their head and food on the table. But despite our best efforts through funding the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, when I took office, there was no strategic vision to create new affordable housing, and there was no plan to help our residents experiencing homelessness. So we rolled up our sleeves and we got to work. Working with our partners in City Council, we created the first affordable and equitable housing plan and set a vision for development of affordable housing. We initiated a series of programs and benchmarks designed to alleviate Richmond's housing crisis. And since 2017, the city created almost 4,000 new affordable housing units and allocated over $46 million to affordable housing projects. We diverted over 1,400 evictions through our eviction diversion program. We created the Performance Grant Program to induce the development of new multifamily affordable housing units. And we allocated $1.4 million for a down payment assistance program for city employees who are first-time home buyers. You're welcome. We're not just solving the current housing crisis, we're breaking down the barriers so that city residents can actually afford to live here. We all know your zip code should not define your quality of life. And that's why in the past year alone, we declared a housing crisis with Richmond City Council and partnered with LIST to collectively invest $100 million over the next 5 years towards the affordable housing needs in this city. Let me tell you how we did that. Simple. We put $50 million in, and LIST put $50 million in. So, I owe a big thank you to Denise Scott, Michael Pugh, and Jane Farrar with LIST for believing in our work and in our vision. Let's thank our partners right now. We also made great strides in serving our unhoused. As I said before, there is no lack of compassion here, but at times there has been a lack of capacity. So working hand in hand with City Council, we created and approved our strategic plan to end homelessness. Since then, we've funded 2 homeless services liaisons, invested millions of dollars into our family crisis fund, bolstered our relationship with the Greater Richmond Continuum of Care, and are partnering with Chesterfield and Henrico counties to create more permanent supportive housing. Most recently, we added 200 new shelter beds, 150 beds run by the Salvation Army, and 50 beds operated by Home Again. My fellow Richmonders, when I took office, we had folks sleeping on the floor of the dilapidated public safety building. Our plans were piecemeal and lacked compassion. Well, not anymore. Now we put our dollars where our hearts are. So I would like to thank our Human Services team, led by Tracy DeShazer, and our compassionate partners for their tireless dedication in serving those in need. When looking back at what this administration has accomplished, there is one day that especially stands out to me. That day is July 1st, 2020. The day I ordered the removal of our country's largest collection of Confederate monuments. Those relics to the past had cast shadows over our city for long enough. A constant reminder that even though the South laid down its arms some 150 years ago, we continue to honor those who raised those arms against their own nation, all to protect our nation's original sin, slavery. How could we ever convince anyone that Richmond had its eye on the future when its symbols were so stuck in the past? How could we possibly convince people of diverse backgrounds that they belonged here in Richmond when our city so brashly honored men who opposed their basic freedoms? And how could I look at my daughter someday, a beautiful black girl, and tell her when something is wrong, we stand up and make it right, if her father refused to when he had the chance? Folks, those statues had to come down, and they did, swiftly and without apology. So yes, we are not the capital of the Confederacy anymore. We are a capital of compassion, and our welcoming reputation is something we take pride in. We banned symbols of hate from public buildings and celebrated our diversity. We, a Southern city, raised the progress flag at City Hall for the first time ever. And since 2017, we improved our municipal equality index from a 42 to a 100, a perfect score. Folks, Richmond has grown culturally over the past 7 years, and I believe our future is brighter because of it. So tonight, we've talked about economic growth, we've talked about education and safety, we've talked about our culture and our future. And now I'd like to take a second to talk about our dedicated and incredible city employees. Without the people who come in every day, work on the weekends, work late nights, and serve our great city, we wouldn't be where we are today. So, if you work for the city of Richmond, please stand up right now. Let's give all of them a big round of applause, y'all. To the Richmond City employees, I want you to know that we see you and we appreciate you. You guys have done a damn good job. Folks, people want to work for the city of Richmond again. We are an employer of choice. We are bringing in talent from across the country, and with new talent comes new ideas and better services. We are also the southernmost locality in Virginia to commit to a collective bargaining agreement for city employees. I'm proud that we increased parental leave from 4 to 8 weeks. We added employee health clinics, and we finally made the transition to the Virginia retirement system. See, we invested resources increasing salaries for teachers, public safety workers, and non-sworn city employees, and we increased the minimum wage for the city to $18 an hour. Let me be clear. This administration is about making changes that will impact Richmond's future for generations to come. We are not just putting Band-Aids on old city problems so that the next administration can deal with them. We are ensuring that Richmond's success continues for years and years to come. So my fellow Richmonders, when I took office in 2017, there were some who thought Richmond's best days had come and gone. Some ignored Richmond as a place to live, work, learn, and do business. And trust me, I get it. As a black kid from a working poor family who was raised by his father and his grandmother, the odds were stacked against me. But my family believed in me. My teachers believed in me, so much that I started to believe in myself. Well, folks, we got their attention. People are starting to believe in Richmond, just like you believe in Richmond. And through grit, hard work, and intentionality, we came together to change Richmond's story, to change Richmond's future, to give Richmonders the opportunity to dream again. We still have lots to accomplish, and I promise you, as long as I'm your mayor, I will fight for this city, I will fight for that dream, and I will believe in Richmond. Because that is what you deserve and what this city deserves, nothing less. I am proud to have helped rewrite Richmond's story. I am proud to have done it with all of you by my side. It has been the greatest honor of my life, So my fellow Richmonders, our best days are very much still ahead of us. The future is bright and the dream is still alive. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Thank you for joining me this entire 2 terms. And may God bless you and God bless the great city of Richmond.